The night belongs to us. We will bathe in their blood and relish their screams.
Hi everybody, I'm Mark White. I'm the former project lead and managing director of Southampton Vampire by Night, and this is my wife Katie, who was involved as administration within the project and also as a team player throughout, as in getting involved in all aspects of the project. The reason why Katie is here in the video with me today is for kind of moral support. I did a poll asking people what videos they wanted me to cover next, and one of those videos was mental health. So this was the video that I am in theory dreading the most talking about, because it's the most raw. As out of all the things that happened in the project, the backlash on me and my mental health throughout was quite severe in times. So it's a subject matter that is definitely worth exploring and talking about, as I feel that it will affect everybody who puts themselves into something. And when I say put yourself into it, I mean genuinely care for something or someone or whatever it is. When you see that thing slipping away from you and you lose it, it hurts. As I stated in the motivational video, this was the first time in my life that I genuinely put everything I had into this, or into something. So the pitfalls of it. Sorry, Katie's phone's going on. So don't worry about it, it's fine, it'll make noise. Yep. So pitfalls of it, right? So the problem I had was at the start of the project, I went into the project with the wrong headspace. I was doing it because I was trying to leave my mark on the world, and also because I felt like I was obligated to do it. So I felt like I had to achieve this. And also then by putting 100% of myself into the project, i.e. I didn't want it to fail, I was going to push forwards no matter what, no matter the consequences of it, I was determined that I was going to take this from the beginning to the end. Now, there was a few things that happened along the way that I kept me going in the wrong way. First of all was that when we did our initial GoFundMe, when we realised that the project itself, the initial people that were involved in the project were pulling out. I'd already invested money at this point, and the original people that took the project on with me weren't investing and were pulling away from the project bit by bit. So I knew that to continue it after investing already about 6 months into it or something like that, we needed some funding. So I did a GoFundMe, and that was not successful, even though when you look at it, it's £3,200 and something pounds, or £3,300 something pounds was raised. That basically was coming to the GoFundMe was coming to an end, and we had about £300 of the £3,000 goal or something like that. So at that point, I had resigned myself that I'd failed. The project was coming to an end, but I didn't at that point. Although it was hurting, it was manageable. It was kind of a relief in a way that I was thinking, okay, I could walk away now knowing that it wasn't my fault, that it's just because I didn't have the funding and it wasn't that right time to do it, etc. What happened was that I had persuade is the wrong word, motivated someone to step forwards who really liked the idea of the project, and it was solely funded by one person. The person wanted to remain anonymous, so I'm not going to mention who they are now, but that person came forwards and basically said, how much money do you need? Fine, I'll give you that money. There was no strings attached, no obligations, just I really want to play this type of LARP. Please make it happen. So at that point, I was both incredibly motivated and felt, elated is the word, I think. Just really, really fucking happy. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I was going, there goes your escape net. You're not escaping now. You're in this for the long haul. So that was like the first mental blip part of the project. And when I say stress up to this point, it's stressful because all of the ideas for the project were all still they were still going through at that point. Like, we'd got quite far in the website design, we'd arranged and I think taken photo shoots by then. We'd start to map out the assets around the city, the locations. There was a lot of work. We were making videos. We were made a kind of introduction to the game kind of video, like a welcome, well, I don't know, like an advertisement video by then. So I was hyped, and lots of stuff was being done. But at that point as well, I'd always having problem with, which will come in a later video, of people management. I was already starting to lose members of the team, where the scope of the project at that point was already starting to show signs of it being too big and too grand an idea. And it is what it is. I'd never done project management before, or never does business or finance or made videos or anything. I was literally a LARPer that turned around and went, I don't want this to come to an end, so I'm going to do what I can to keep it going, and tried to fix all the issues that I could see.
Was that about the same time that...
Sorry, if you... give me a second, everybody.
Sorry.
We've got to figure this. So, sorry to interrupt. This is a dynamic, meaning it only catches voice in a cone in front of it. So what I'm going to have to do is, if I
just have to lean
and then talk directly out there.
Was that about the time that you sat with an accountant to find out your projection as well?
So yeah, before I came up with this grand figure of $3,000 or anything like that, I'd sat down with an accountant and we'd gone through and projected how much we needed to charge players and how long the game would take before it was starting to recuperate costs, and how much upfront money was required to do things like cover the initial few games, etc., etc. So yeah, we'd sat down. I'd sat down with a professional to talk through the project to make sure that it was viable, because there's no way that I was going to ask people for money and invest all that time and energy into a project that would then instantly fail the second it launched, because it had way too big overheads to maintain the level of game we were looking for. So as I say, I didn't know anything about anything. So and I'll come back to this point at the end of the video where some stuff happened. So anyway, at that point, it was I'd already started to show signs of telltale signs of issues regarding stress levels, anxiety, and my close friends will know this, that when it came to mental health in me and mental health in others, my attitude was just suck it up. I was surprised when I saw or spoke to people that said they had mental health, that I didn't believe them, because I thought they didn't. It was a lie, if you see what I mean. And this project grew me up very quickly, and opened my eyes to what those issues can cause and what they can do to a person, and to some say an extreme at one point. So anyway, we pushed through. The funding was there, so that meant now that I started to budget stuff and started to take costings, and my accountant talked through me and said that I needed to do all this to make sure for taxes and all kinds of stuff. We registered the company, so it meant that we could have insurances and stuff like that, and it was all above board. And so all of these things were all brand new to me. I had no idea. So if you can imagine the constant research, double checking with other people, etc. And then we hit some big issues. After this stage, we started to have some issues, and the issues were that we knew we needed to grow the team. So there's a video that I'll post at some point, which is where the team got to its largest, where we had basically my front lounge and everybody was sat around, and at that point that's the team at its biggest in a way. But basically what happened is, over the next year or so, that people came into the project, people came out of the project, but not a lot was achieved. I continued to plod through and do stuff, and we did have some things that were that came out, but basically I spent an awful lot of time talking to people that were interested in helping, talking to them about what was needed and what was expected, and then finding out months later that nothing had been done, and that they didn't want to be part of the project anymore, and it was too much for them, or that things had changed in their life, and I 100% understand. Things happen. It was just because I was dealing with so many, it felt exhausting, that I just felt like the project had stalled, that I wasn't approaching things in the right way, that it was me. It was my thing, because I don't know how I was handling it, if I was handling it well or not, but I knew that for some reason people were saying, I'm going to do something for you, and then know the full extent of what that thing is, and then not deliver, and not tell me, ghost me over and over and over again. And I was so counting on these individuals to come through that after a while, when it continued to happen, I started to get more and more and more angry with the world in general, and just how people could treat people like that. Now I get it now. I understand why it was happening, because this was a very small thing to them in their world, but it was a massive thing in mine. And because of that comparison between the two, to them to say, oh mate, I've been way too busy, I can't do it, or oh, do you know what, I've just got other things going on, I'm going to have to pull out. To them that was a very small thing, but for me it was ginormous. It meant the project was things weren't getting done, things would need to be taken on by somebody else, I would need to dedicate more time to it, and it was just this constant frustration and just building of just anger and resentment.
I think looking back, I think a lot of the problem was
sorry, you talking to the mic.
Was because you had an anonymous secret donor, should we say, a word that I can say. You felt obligated to see it through, whereas the people that were coming and going, they had no monetary investment and made no promise. It wasn't a promise you made, but you know what I mean, you felt like you made a promise. So that's how people could easily come and go, and you put so much pressure on yourself that you had to perform to please the person that had generously helped.
Yeah, in a nutshell, that $3,000 that came in was like a ball and chain, because I could never afford to pay the individual back at that time. We'd oh god, so at that stage I made a video on this, so if anybody wants to check, you can. That you know what I'm saying now isn't excuses or anything like that, but we went for a really rough patch right in the middle of the project, right in the middle of COVID, where we had cancer scares, changes of losses and changes of jobs, miscarriage,
personal life issues,
major personal life issues, just it was heavy. And with the project being as it was, and me feeling like I was a failure at all aspects of my life, nearly, very closely pushed me over the edge. And that's why I made that mental health video talking about seek help, don't give in, don't take the easy route, and all of that. That all came about because I managed to pull myself through a situation where the voices in my head were very clearly telling me I should go down a certain path. And I didn't want to face failure, and I didn't want to face all the shit that was going on. So yeah, it was rough. At one point in the project, very, very fucking rough. And like I say, I've got Katie here for this bit because that is still so raw. Yeah, it was the project that was pushing me in that direction as well, because it was me, it was everything. I put myself into this, and now I've got money that I'm not. If the money was given in really good faith, and it was never meant, as I found out later, as I spoke to the individual when the project was coming to an end, I reached out and said, look mate, this is the situation, do you want the money, and I'll do what I can to pay you that back. And they were incredibly generous, and they said not to worry, and that it was, you know, they invested for the hope of it. I didn't need to take it through, which was a huge weight. But at the same time, all the way through the project, there was no way that I was ever going to take these people's money and run and not do what I said I wanted to do. And knowing at the time that I was fucked and I couldn't do anything. And then all the shit that was going on in life, fuck. Yeah, as I say, it was very close. And I, lucky enough, I was able to reach out, and people reached out to me, and I was able to have conversations that massively helped during that time. But I swear that something like this at the time, this project meant so much in my life that I felt so, I owed so many people so much to get this through to the finish line. And anybody that was involved in the project will know, I hope, how passionate I was driving this, and I wanted it to come to completion. I wanted it to go live. And yeah, so there was a really rough patch where personal life and the project clashed in a really big way, and I felt incredibly low and a massive failure in just every aspect of my life. So lucky enough at that stage, things started to change a bit, where I had a crew made up of close friends. So at that stage, acquaintances, people that the people that were involved at the project at that point were close friends, or people that genuinely wanted to help and dedicate time. Now, COVID was in full swing at this stage.
It was first and second lockdown.
Yeah. So, I was very blessed towards the end with the team that I had, and it was strong. We did more in 6 months than I'd achieved in 2 years. We made so many, we created so much in that short space of time. And we trimmed the fat of the project. We had to get rid of things like the international game. We had to get rid of the geocaching. We had to change the rule set. There were so many changes that were required because of things that had happened. People that had let me down, or things that had just not worked out. The person running away with the money for the forum, and there were so many issues but this team came around me, and we had regular team meetings, regular updates of what was going on, and everybody was pushing forward. There was blips. There was times when I was incredibly stressed on the team meetings, where I felt overwhelmed by everything that was going on, because I had to change the vision of what the project was going to be so many times. It was so hard to keep track of all of the ripples. I said before, in the video about waves that could cause, if you change one thing, it causes ripples. That means you have to change loads of other things. And where we had this constant change going on, so in a nutshell, we found out we wanted to be relevant. So we wanted to make sure that when the game came out, it was relevant to what was going on in World of Darkness, because what we didn't want to see happen was that we launched and then automatically we were not relevant in regards to the iteration or the version that was being publicised by Paradox Entertainment and World of Darkness. We wanted to ensure that we were able to, in theory, benefit from all of the advertisement that was going on at the time. So when we found out that fucking the Met rules that we'd spent so long learning, investing time into videos, making all of our NPCs for etc., what was pretty much redundant, because first of all, there was a V5 game, V5 Larp coming up, which By Night Studios have launched, I think, yesterday or today. The backer kit for. We found out, or we knew this was in the pipeline a while ago, and then went, fuck, if we launch our game, it's out of date. And Paradox, all advertisement from Paradox isn't going to be to do with this, it's going to be to do with that. And version 5. So we went, we got to change. We got to change everything. We got to go to V5. So we had to change all of our world setting, all of our characters, all of the rules, everything. But now we were trying to build a game where there were no rules for it yet. But so we started looking at Nordic and thinking, well, we could do a Nordic-esque rule system to start with, and then when these rules come out, we can then bring the game back more from grand kind of 4 games a year kind of thing to a more regular style game when these rules come out. So, but it meant that we were then having to really rethink everything about the project. And I think at that point, because I've skipped through quite a few events here, but at that point, COVID was coming to an end. When I say coming to an end, people were going back to work. Now, I'd been working all the way through COVID, so had Katie, but some of the others had some time at home to spend. Some of them were still working, but they were working from home, etc. But the team as a whole, now everything was changing, because we this is where when it came to a close, we said we had some really bad luck. So, and it wasn't, to me it wasn't bad luck, but we just had a kid, so we had our Ben, and we were getting used to being new parents with a literally a 2-month-old or 3 months old, something like that. And then another member of the team was going back to continue one of his hobbies, which he'd always said from the start he would do that because that was his passion. So he was no longer able to make it. We had another couple of members of the team that had work that they were having to dedicate time towards now, and also other projects going on. And in a nutshell, the team came to a close. Now, we did a shout out to see if we could spread the love around some new members of the team, but we didn't get much in return to that, if anything. So we made a decision at that point that the time that we would invest into the game would be so minimal at that point that we'd basically lost our opportunity. We had so many setbacks at the start that we didn't have enough time left now to complete it to a point where we could look to launch. If it was a sign of, because we'd had the reset to the new rule system and this massive change, it meant that we were having to go back through and redo all of the stuff we'd previously done, and that in itself was a big workload. And on top of that, we then needed to finish developing the rest of the game. We were up to a stage where we were planning out the first court,
looking at venues.
Yeah, we were. When I say we were close, I reckon if we'd have had another 6 months to a year working on the project in the same capacity we were before, we would have done it, and it would have gone live, and I think it would have been successful. But I couldn't face starting a whole new team again. I couldn't face doing all of that again. And at that stage, the decision was made for me. Basically, Katie stepped in and said that for my mental health and for hers, that my focus needed to be being a father and not doing this again, not putting myself through this all over again. And the team pretty much turned around to me and said, that's it, you've got to stop. Intervention, whatever you want to call it, everybody said, time to stop. And yeah, it really hurt having to stop, because that's when I admit that it was over and I'd failed. And not a nice feeling. And to make it worse, and it really hurt, was the some of the backlash that came out from the community. And I've waited 3 years to say my side of this. So I was accused of stealing from members of the community. I know every single penny that came into this project, and I know who it came from. And I would say a good 95% of funding that came to this project was from my friends and my family. As far as the community as a whole is concerned, there was only a few people that actually committed that I didn't know personally. None of those individuals came forwards and asked me for their money back. And if they had, I'd have done what I can to get it back to them. But not a single one of them did. So being accused of stealing was hard to keep quiet on. Especially when the individual, who you know who you are, took opportunity to drag my name and my company through the mud without information, without the facts. Yes, I was not a professional. Yes, I had no right to try to do this thing in the manner that I did, in regards to try to make such a grand plan. But I wanted to try. So yeah, and the individual who did say and publicly say that they donated money and it was taken from them under false pretenses, that individual, I believe, had backed the project for 3 months on Patreon, and I believe had invested something like £30. That individual never reached out to me before making that public comment to ask for a return of their money. If they had, I would have given it to them. They decided to take it upon themselves to start a series of posts that would have that caused this other individual from another company that does run a vampire LARP to start having their share their opinions. So yeah, it was hard at that stage where I was pretty much so emotionally and mentally fucked that I couldn't engage these people. I couldn't. I begged the team, literally begged the team for me to be able to just say my side of it, say my piece, to tell everybody what had happened. But I was told that it's not the time to do it, and that it would cause the trolls to come out, and that people would take opportunity to, and it would be more damaging to me. So I took a step back, and the team handled the social media of the closing of the game. But I want it crystal clear to everybody who watches this that I never stole a penny from anybody, and I know exactly where it all came from. And I reached out to the individual that sent me the 3,000, and they said that it was absolutely perfectly fine. And I did that way before the project came to a close. So As far as stealing goes, that's that. Now, there were comments made about my abilities, and it's true, 100%. The project was a failure. I failed. And it goes to prove, no matter how many hours, how much dedication, how much stress you put yourself under, and how committed you are to something, sometimes things won't work out. And I swear, the advice I gave before, where I said, do not make a project that you can't 100% do yourself, is so true. If I could have made this project where I could do every aspect of it, it would have launched, because I'd have just kept on going. Nothing was going to stop me. That was my opinion. Nothing was going to hold me back from doing this. So yeah, it was rough. So anybody who's got ideas for making projects and doing this, my advice would be that 100%, make sure you can do it all yourself. Do not do what I did and emotionally invest yourself into it as much as I did. It should be a hobby. It should be fun. If it stops being fun, then you need to stop. As simple as that. When it comes to a hobby, when it comes to you trying to create something like I was, that's a project, it's not for financial gain, it's not for a company that you're going to be there to provide for your family, it's just for fun, for other people. Second it stops becoming fun, stop. Do not take yourself like I did through, just keep pushing forwards no matter what. Don't do what I did. I lost so many friends over this project. My reputation, Jesus. I was so adamant and keen to push this through that I didn't stop to see all of the shit that I'd caused along the way, all of the missed conversations that I could have had, all of the it was one of those things where the project became everything to me, and that meant that if I wasn't talking about the project, it wasn't worth talking about. And that was 3 years of my life completely wasted in that regard. So many missed opportunities, so many things that I could have pursued, so many, yeah. So, yeah. And then afterwards, it's taken me all this time, 2-3 years, to be able to feel confident enough to do what I'm doing now. I was a confident person before this project, and now, even in work, I don't have confidence in myself. People point out, recently when I did some training into something, someone said, you know what I mean, you know your stuff, Mark, you just don't seem confident that you do. And it's stuff like this that caused that. So yeah, mental health.
I'd like to say, from a semi-outside point of view, yes, the project didn't work, but it's easy for me to say that it wasn't due to Mark's failure. It was just victim of circumstance. Like, we started off in lockdown when people had time because you couldn't go anywhere, but then normality kicked in, people going back to work, people's hobbies were starting up, and people weren't able to dedicate the 2 hours a week or whatever it was for the meetings and then the work in between. And hindsight is always a fine thing. I managed a business that didn't work, and it was all that I did myself, and I genuinely shot myself in the foot, whereas Mark was relying on a lot of people, and people can't always be consistent because their jobs change, their lives change. But because we were having such a bad time personally anyway, I think Mark just threw himself into this to try and get away from that, because it was the one thing he felt he probably could control. I'm probably completely overstepping the mark with any of that. But anyone who's managed a project or run a business, the first time you do it and you don't know what you're doing, you just kind of have to wing it. And it's not, I personally think anyone who criticises someone else, how they manage people and how they manage a project, have never done it themselves, because there's always someone who thinks they can do it better. But I don't think it's any reflection upon Mark as a person. I don't know what more to say to that. Yes, relationships unfortunately did come to an end, but it's a two-way street as well. Everyone could always manage things better in hindsight, and that's my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah, Katie's right. But it's hard. Sorry, my microphone has now gone floppy. It's hard to it's hard not to self-criticize yourself. It's hard not to point the finger at yourself. And that was one of the things that this project basically made me do when things failed, when things were going wrong, when things weren't going to plan. I just blamed myself, because ultimately, if I turn around and say to you at the start of these videos, former project lead, that's what I was. I was a leader, and if there was things going wrong, it was because my leadership skills driving us there. Would people have come through with tasks if I'd have dedicated more time to the individuals, to sit down with them, meet with them, to actually go through it? I mean, I would say if I could do a do-over of things, that would be one of the things I would do, is not so remotely, it was COVID, so it's difficult, but not so remotely go, here's a task, let's talk about that task, are you happy with that task? Right, I'll check in with you in a month's time. What I should have said is, hey, here's a task, this is what we need to do, when can me and you meet up to do this together? And then done it that way. So at that point, progress is being made, but I'm there to see that progress, and the individual feels like that constant investment from me to that my commitment is to them as much as their commitment is to me. When it felt like, because I just got their commitment and then walked away and came back later, there's plenty of opportunity for other things to fill their time and for that commitment to become a lesser priority. And I should have been more I should have given more thoughtful responses to people when they were unable to do things. But anyway, I'll cover that in a separate video regarding people management, because I think that's a topic worth covering there. So mental health. I mean, I've just been telling you all that stuff. So what came out the back end of this? Anxiety and stress are two things that I still suffer from. And hypnotherapy helps, by the way. But yeah, they've come about, they've raised their head multiple times. Confidence, massive blow to confidence. I get tongue-tied, and I have to psych myself up to do things now, to build up, because I feel like I could, before I even start a task, that I failed a task. So those are the mental health things that came out the back end of that. Plus being scared of social media. And so there you go. Advice.
I think you're right in saying the biggest thing to take away is don't take on anything you can't do yourself, and I'd say manage expectations of people. I personally, it's probably not the right way to live, but I personally expect the worst to be pleasantly surprised, but I'm not saying you should do the same, and be prepared to lose a bit of money in a process as well. So figure out what you can afford to lose and take it from there.
So I think Katie's kind of sums it up quite well. I mean, don't invest yourself as much as you saw that I did into the project. Stop when it's no longer fun. And if anybody who's watching this is creating a LARP or whatever, and you want to reach out to me, I'm more than happy, if I've got the time, to talk through things with you.
You do shift work?
Yeah, I do shifts now, so it's difficult, but if I can arrange a time to meet with people, then I'm more than happy to answer those kind of personal questions to do with your projects in regard to that. But yeah, so that's the mental health side of stuff. Hopefully anybody who's watching this has gained some perspective of things a bit more, and also an understanding of how damaging or dangerous projects like this can be to an individual's mental health, and some of the pitfalls and some of the things to watch out for. If you're involved in a project with someone who is the project lead, please take the time to check in with them, make sure they're okay, point out how good things are going, and point out positive things continuously to them, because trust me, that individual is under an awful lot of stress and pressure. And it only takes a few people to tell them how good they're doing to really help their mental stability during a project. That goes at work as well, guys. So yeah, try to motivate and uplift people, not bringing them down. And if your project manager, project lead is stressing at you, it's normally because they care, and it's also because they're under a lot of pressure to see things through. So anyway, hopefully you've all enjoyed this. Sorry it's a raw video, it's a hard one to do, and I'll speak to you all again soon. And from both myself and Katie, we love you all, and goodbye.